Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulullah. We continue reading from Imam Al-Ghazali's The Jewels of the Quran and Spells. We are still reading from Surah Ar-Rum, the Romans. Towards the end of the last session, we read and said that we will continue reading and commenting on verse 37 and 38, and of course beyond, inshallah. أعوذ بالله السميع من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أولم يروا أن الله يبسط الرزق لمن يشاء ويقدر إن في ذلك لآيات لقوم يؤمنون. Have they not seen that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that Allah gives abundant or limited provisions to whoever He wills? Surely these are signs for people who believe. We said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provides for the Muslim, and the Muslim provides for the animals, the bears, the fish. Everything that in the universe is sustained by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Doesn't mean that you sleep and just simply lay down and daydream and think that this is that ultimately your sustenance will come to you, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is sustainer. He is sustainer, but you till the land, sow the seed, irrigate, weed, tend, whatever is necessary. Here, I'm not talking about only agriculture. I'm saying it could be carpentry, it could be education, it could be medicine, it could be whatever is the factories, management. You need to roll up your sleeve and work hard. Even if you work hard, doesn't mean that every time it's going to work. People that I know, they have tried to establish businesses. Some of them, of those people, succeeded. Some of them failed. You need ultimately to believe that it is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even if you do your part. The acquisition, because this is also in the area of knowledge, education, science. Yes, some people will remember when some people will get higher grades than you are, and you are a bit distant. So whether it's wealth in all forms, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala this is His creation, this is His universe. He created and He provided for whatever He created. It is His wisdom, it is His will, it is His justice, and some people will get more than others. In the Sahih sound tradition, the Prophet ﷺ said, عجبا للمؤمن قضاء إلا كان خيرا له. The affair of the mu'min is intriguing. Whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decrees for the servant of Allah, to the believer, really here, except that it's going to be good for him, for her of course, except it's going to be good for him. How come everything is going to be good? The hadith continues, إن أصابته سراء وشكر فكان خير له. If something good comes his way, good provisions, whatever good comes his way, offspring, spouse, and wealth, all halal, wholesome, knowledge. In asabatu sarra wa shakar, if good comes his way, he is thankful, and this is good for him. Look at what is good for him is that he is thankful. And to be thankful is to use that which was provided to you according to revelation. Very simple. There is an Islamic worldview, and you know how to. There are rights. There are things that you have to. You have to give the alms giving. There are conditions to be fulfilled. If it's cash, gold, silver, cash that we have today, 2.5%. If the money becomes zakatable, the equivalent of about 81 grams of gold, if that money is with you for a whole lunar year that you did not use, then you have then there are rights for the poor, the needy, the wayfarer. We have three mentioned in the next verse, inshallah. So if something good comes his way, he is thankful, and that's good for him. وَإِنْ أَصَابَتْهُ ضَرَّاءُ صَبَرَ فَكَانَ خَيْرًا لَهُ. And if he is touched by calamity, tribulation, if he is hurt in any fashion, whether he lost trade, whether he is sick, whether lost a loved one, he is patient, and this is good for him. فَكَانَ خَيْرًا لَهُ. All your affairs are going to be good if it's through your reaction. It's your reaction. Yes. Now the next, one should remember that don't really despair. We should always try and be hopeful, and reach out. It's not only the 2.5%. If there are hardships, if your community is facing hardships, your responsibility goes beyond the 2.5%. It goes without saying. In fact, from what I understand from the works of Muslim scholars, if there is a general calamity, if the society is hit, it could be a drought, it could be a famine, it could be a siege, whatever it could be a war, it could be an earthquake, a devastating earthquake, it could be a flood, a hurricane. Then the community should, pull together through this, and a governor may take from the money of people to ease the conditions. Today, things are sophisticated. You can have emergency funds. You can declare an area that is hit. If it's a very large place, then one part of the country could be hit and another not. The idea is that you'll always have people in need. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alam. This is why we, inshallah, when we read the next verse, it alludes to those in need. فآت ذا القربى حقه والمسكين وابن السبيل ذلك خير الذين يريدون وجه الله وأولئك هم مفلحون. So give close relatives their due, as well as the poor and the traveler, the needy traveler, the wayfarer, the one who's stuck. It could be someone who was traveling and his money is stolen, lost, whatever. That is best for those who seek the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it is they who will be successful. You seek, basically, this is the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You seek the face of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yuriduna wajh Allah, literally. But the meaning here is you would like to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sincerely. Because there are cases when people try, give in order to multiply their wealth and what have you. We'll talk about this, inshallah. Now, your relatives are entitled for taking care of them. One thing is that there are those in your family that you cannot give zakah, the alms giving. You cannot give zakah. It doesn't mean that you don't give them. It means that it is your responsibility to provide for them anyhow. You don't give zakah to your son or daughter. You don't give zakah to your father or mother. They are entitled. You have to. It's not a matter of choice. And yes, we talk about an obligation here, but if really you take care of your parents simply because it's an obligation, then that's really problematic. One should check his heart or her heart if this becomes the case. أنت ومالك لأبيك in the hadith. You and your wealth belong to your father. Don't deny your parents the care that they need, but the best thing, of course, is how you relate them, how you accommodate them, how you try to make them happy and as comfortable as possible, especially towards the end of their lives, become really elderly, sick. Don't get rid of them. Just have birr. It's a source of success in this life and hereafter. The same thing applies to Silat al-Arham. They are also relatives. You talk about your sister, you talk about also your Rahim is your brother also. Culturally, we think that Rahim is only the woman in the family, and also it's very problematic if we think that inviting the woman of the family once during Ramadan, once a year, that's extremely problematic. Salat al-Arham, it would basically, it's a source of barakah, of blessing in your life, everything. And it's a bit complex to explain, but it would basically, let's call it will bless your life, your years. It literally, it would increase your lifespan. And this is not in retrospect. It will be known, of course, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It will be in the plan of things. It will be decreed for you. Say that you have a neighbor, and the neighbor is entitled for, even if the neighbor is Christian, for example, your neighbor is entitled for certain rights. The best, most beautiful treatment should be accorded to your neighbor. If your neighbor is a Muslim, then that's also an additional right. If your neighbor is a relative, that's an additional right. So, say, for example, your sister is your neighbor. So she is entitled for the right of being your neighbor, the right of being a Muslim, the right of being your sister or your brother. This is, I think we should cherish Some people are they feel probably burdened by the extended family. It's a treasure that we should cherish and we should really preserve and celebrate, inshallah. It's a source of good, for us and for the society at large, if we think about it. In many countries now, the family unit is not there anymore. Yes, of course, they still get married. They might get married, not everyone. The disintegration of the family, especially when we talk about the new forms of families, same sex, and what have you, this is devastating. This is really devastating. And man, people suffer from loneliness because people do not basically have more. They don't have. Some of them don't have children by design. They don't have children. They can afford, but they are married, but they don't want children. Maybe one child, and this means no siblings. It's very beautiful to have siblings. فآت ذا القربى حقه. والمسكين. The miskin is someone who has nothing to spend. The miskin is someone who is in abject poverty. Of course, the society, and you have the of course, if you know somebody who is really a miskin, you would give that miskin from your zakah. Otherwise, I would encourage that central authorities, if you will, zakah committees, because then we'll make sure that, say that we have 10 such people in the society, 10 could be 100 as 100%, who just simply would like to make sure that every one of them will get enough for food and clothing and medicine and what have you. If we don't have a committee to take care of this, or an institution, or then one of them might get twice or thrice, and one of them might not get anything at all. So give your close relatives their due, as well as the poor and the needy traveler, وابن السبيل. Some people should understand that it could happen. It could happen. Sometimes you'll be traveling to study, to visit relatives, to work, or whatever, and you might be even transiting in a country where you don't know anybody, and there is a strike. Air traffic controls go on strike. Sometimes this happens, or the pilots go on strike. So something happens, you might be stuck without help. I'm just simply giving an example of something that could happen today. Or you will lose some people are naive enough to think that if you are in the aeroplane, then people would not steal. I've seen it. People where their money and passports were stolen during their flights. They did not. The problem is that they did not know. Had this happened, and they have known this before disembarking, before leaving the airplane, probably no one would leave the airplane until they search everybody. But when they were outside the airplane and they checked for their passports and their money, I've seen a family like this where they ended up with no money and no passports. ذلك خير الذين يريدون وجه الله وأولئك هم المفلحون. That is best for those who seek the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it is they who will be successful. Success, falah, we talk about the hereafter. نجاحا فلاح. وما آتيتم وفي أموال الناس فلا يربو عند الله وما آتيتم من زكاة تريدون وجه الله فأولئك هم المضعفون. Whatever loans you give, only seeking interest at the expense of people's wealth, will not increase with Allah. But whatever charity you give, only seeking the pleasure of Allah, it is they whose reward will be multiplied. If it's really a usury loan, it's basically one is at a big loss. That is prohibited. There's another possible meaning. You'll find basically both in literature and exegesis. It could be that you will give a gift to someone with the intention of getting a more expensive gift in return. Say that someone gives a gift to someone, a wealthy, or at least someone who is capable of helping him. He gives a gift. That's the only thing that he has, hoping that this person, this wealthy person, will provide for him, will give him a larger gift. This is not zakah. This is not zakah. It's permissible. It's not zakah. Okay. Now there is a statement attributed to Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma. He commented on this issue by saying usury is of two types. الربا رباءان. One form of usury of riba, that riba is basically something that will increase anyhow, literally the etymology of the word riba, something that will increase. It could be raising cattle, it could be whatever, chicken, that's, and when they grow, that's terbiya. But there is another meaning here, of course, that which is prohibited, it cannot be acceptable. It's the one that is literally about money. You give 1,000 and you say that the interest is going to be 10% or 50%, whatever is the interest, that is prohibited, that is unacceptable. And he said فَرِبَا لَا يَصِحْ يعني رِبَا البيع, when people try to increase the price of something through interest. And he said وَرِبَا لا بأس به وهدية الرجل يريد فضلها وأضعافها. And the riba, the increase through a gift, a man giving a gift who would like to have favors because of it, to have even its worth multiplied, and this is acceptable. In the whatever, there are verses and there are traditions about this. وما أتيتم من ربا ليربو في أموال الناس فليربو عند الله. If this is if it's usury, if it's something to be increased at the expense of people, then it will not be increased in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not accept this. And whatever zakah that you give, وما أتيتم من زكاة, the alms giving, تريدون وجه الله فأولئك هم المضعفون, as in this particular verse. In the hadith صحيح وما لي ثمرة من كسب طيب إلا أخذ الرحمن بيمينه فيربيها لصاحبه كما يربي أحدكم فلوه أو فصيله حتى تصير التمرة أعظم من أحد. In the hadith, no one who gives charity the equivalent of a date, just the fruit itself, and almost nothing, but it has been acquired lawfully, and you give it away for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, except that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the merciful, the compassionate, except that He will take it subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take it with, of course, one should understand this metaphorically. بيمينه, it means it is acceptable. وكلتا يديه يمين, the both of his hands are right. Again, no anthropomorphic attributes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. ليس كمثله شيء. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will increase it. فيربيها, this is the notion. riba فيربيها, that we spoke about, the increase. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase it the way one of you would raise, would increase, will raise a young, let's say, camel, until that tamra, until that date becomes greater than Mount Uhud. Min Uhud, Mount Uhud, a mountain on the edge of Medina, the city of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Suffice it, inshallah, for this session. We'll continue with the Azjal. In the next theme, inshallah, will be verse 41, that speaks about corruption in land and the sea. Until then, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.